The Paul Leslie Interviews.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Charley Pride, is a legend in country music. With tens of millions of records sold and tickets selling out wherever he goes, it is our great pleasure to welcome country music's Charley Pride.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You know, we did a face-to-face interview in Hiawassee, Georgia, on camera.
Okay.
So it's good to connect with you again.
All right.
Your new album, it's called Music in My Heart. When you've released as many albums as you have, and you've had as many hits as you have, what becomes the goal when you release a new album?
Well, it's because bands, they love what they've already got of mine, and they want to hear those, but they still would like to hear something new. And that's what we try. We try to please. That's what I'm in the business for. I've been in the business. I'm in the business of, I try to sell feelings, lyrics, and emotions. That's what I try to sell. And I've done a pretty good job of it. They have all of the, I've had about 50 albums, something like that. And, but they still would like to hear, something new. And I would like to do something new too, and especially the way this one has turned out. And I'm really, really pleased with it.
And this album was produced by Billy Yates.
Yes.
What was it about him that drew you in? What makes him a good creative partner?
Well, my last 3 CDs I did myself, produced myself, and my wife said to me, she says, how about try to, find someone you'd like to, a producer that you'd like to work with and see how that come out. She said, and let them do the producing and you just sing. So I was sent all of these songs that I was sent by the record label that I record for, and a lot of them was Billy Yates. He writes, he sings, and I'd heard of him, but I finally met him, and this is what's the results of it. And I'm just glad that I did. I took my wife's advice and met him. I mean, he sings good. He produces good. He entertains good. He just fit the bill. We really hit it off well.
Is it wise advice for a man to take his wife's advice?
For mine, it is, yes.
I want to go back a little bit. You're from Mississippi. What did your early years teach you that prepared you for your life?
Well, my dad and my mother, we all was farmers and everything, and we had chores to do. And my dad always said that if you're going to do something, do it good and do it quick, and be good at it. So that's kind of the philosophy that I tried to take all of my life. And and I remember, people asked how did I get into music, but baseball was going to be my thing, And I was going to go to the major leagues and break all the records there and set new one by the time I was 35 or 36, and then sing maybe, I got my first guitar at 14 years old and left it out in the wagon and it rained on it. And I never could keep it in tune, but I still don't read a note of music, but baseball plays quite a bit in how I segue out of baseball into music, and that's just the way it was. My mother used to write and get to the Grand Ole Opry. My dad's favorite singer was Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and so I just hear people say, "Well, who was your influence?" I said the whole. Not a lot of people think that Hank Williams was just there. He was part of, but we had locals that like Lonnie Glosson and Wayne Rainey and a guy out of I was born about 54 miles below Memphis, and there used to be WREC and the buck stuff returning, buckaroos in the morning. We'd go out in the fields and chop and we'd come in at noon, and we'd listen to a group called the Gatchnuff Variety Gang, and so we had old Philco radio, and Daddy, he handled all of them. Nobody touched the knobs with him, so that's what we heard was what he heard. So I remember, I'll tell you something else. Just this year, a guy named Michael Manning, he works for Country Music Hall of Fame, and he was interviewing me, and I got to talking to him about my mother ordering the group, the group pictures from the Opry, and I was telling him about David Cobb, one of the announcers, and he lit up like a Christmas tree, and it's solemn old judge, and he said, I got two of those. He said, I want to give you one of them. And we were playing at the Ryman at that time this year, and he was standing out there. He wasn't standing out there because of me, but he just happened to be standing there, had it in a folder, ready to give it to me. And I've got it, and I'm going to put it in a frame and everything. It's in a frame, but I'm going to hang it in. I have a little trophy room that I'm going to put it in. So these are things that you just don't forget, you know.
Well, speaking of your parents, what kind of people were they? Tell us a little bit more.
Very strict people, and we had to toe the mark. You know, I mean, that many kids. I mean, my mother had 2 by her first marriage and 9 by daddy, and we slept sometime 3 and 4 to bed, and we had chores to do, milk the cows and things around the house, and we just grew up like any family, sharecropping family, you know.
You were mentioning earlier in the interview about when you have fans, they want material, and you've released this new album of yours. And I just wanted to ask you, from your perspective, from the perspective of Charley Pride, what are your fans like?
What are they like?
Yeah, what are they like, the average Charley Pride fan?
Well, they love my singing, and they love the kind of person I am. I get letters from them. They holler out of their audience, and they just. I'm in the business of selling lyrics, feelings, and emotions, and I think I do a good job of it. And I talk to them sometime on stage, and I think now by this time they've read about me and everything, so they just. I'm getting ready to go to Ireland tomorrow, and I've been going over there since '76, and I have one of the biggest. It's starting to happen over here too, just in some places where I have the biggest backup group I ever had. They sing every note of a song in Ireland. They're going to sing every song, a note of every word that I sing in each song.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Something that you've been open about is something I have in the past struggled with as well, and it affects so many people. I'm talking about depression. For someone who's out there that maybe is struggling with depression, what would you say to them? What advice would you give?
Well, I don't give advice. I can just tell them my opinion. I didn't realize that I was a manic depressant, but once I found out, in fact, my wife said, we're going to put it in your book. I have a book that I called, Mom, what is it called? The Charley Pride Story, I believe it's called. She said, well, we're going to put that in. I said, no, I don't want to put that in. And I'm glad I did, because people will come up and this one fellow came up. He said, you know what? He says, now I can. He was whispering, you know. I said, well, he said, I can. You put yours in your book. Now I can say. I said, well, why are you whispering? Oh, that's right. That's right. You put it. So he said, and I'm glad you did. I said, well, I'm glad I did now. I didn't want to. I was kind of feeling the same way you whispering to me like this. I said, but I'm glad my wife decided to get me to put it in the book.
You've done a lot of things, from performing, recording albums like this one, getting the chance to visit places like Ireland. What do you want to do that you haven't had a chance yet?
Whatever I can do to make life better for everybody in the world, in home and abroad. If I can lift up someone and make someone happy, and of all the aches and pains and hate and different things in the world, if I can be just the other side of that and help change it around from that, that'll be fine. If singing will do it, I'll keep singing as long as my fans think I'm singing just as good or better than I ever did, so I'll just keep doing it.
We're joined by recording artist and concert performing artist Charley Pride. Who do you respect most in music who's out there doing it, young or old?
Well, everyone that's doing it. I mean, that loves it like I do. Anyway, feel the same way I do about trying to make people happy and enjoy. I enjoy them, and so when I go on stage, I enjoy just as much getting a response from them as they do from me singing and making them giving me that response.
Reading some of the comments people who are your fans were writing on a message board, there was a review of this new album, and there were people who were sharing their thoughts on it, what they thought about you. And one of the things that I saw again and again from your fans, they were saying, what I love about Charley Pride is that he's unapologetically country music. That was something that was coming up again and again. So yeah. Why country music? What is it about it?
Well, for me, that's just what I like. And I've been singing ever since I could learn whatever song that I liked, and I would try to sing with all the people that I cut my teeth on, starting from, like I say, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys was my dad's favorite. And, of course, in fact, I'll give you a little example. I was in the alley, it's called the alley, and where entertainers go out and join with one another. On stage was Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, and on stage was Dottie West. She brought me up, and I started doing Bill Monroe songs. Like I say, my dad, liked him. And I did Footprints in the Snow, and he didn't say nothing at first. Then they looked at one another, and I did Mansions for Me. I got it in my latest gospel album. That's one of his gospel songs, Bill Monroe's gospel song. I have it in my latest gospel album. And so when I got through, he just, you could see, he said, well, he sings country music. I didn't know he sang bluegrass too. so it's that kind of thing, It just, and I didn't do it for trying to show off or nothing. I just, since he was up there, I just wanted to acknowledge him and showing that I didn't just pull that out of the hat by singing every note of each song. You can see that I didn't just pull that out of the hat that night.
One of the songs on your album, Music in My Heart, is The Way It Was in 51.
Yeah.
Which was recorded by Merle Haggard at one point.
Yeah. Now, I didn't realize that when all these songs were sent to me, and I saw that he was singing it, but after my son came up in my office and I was playing the album after we got done, he says, "Dad, you did that's Merle Haggard song 51." I said, "Yeah, I see he was singing." He said he wrote it too. I said, "I didn't know he wrote it," but his son and my son worked together. They put together, when I say they, as promoters would put together these four people: Georgette from George Jones and Tammy, Marty Haggard from Merle, Dion Pride from Charley Pride, and Michael Twitty from Conway. They call them the Legends Four. So I don't know. Sometimes I guess they would book them as the Legends too, but I don't know how many shows they did together. But those are things that I wasn't aware of until my son told me that he wrote it. He said, "Well, I'm going to tell Marty that you think." I said, "Oh, well, good." And of course, Marty gave my son Merle's cell phone number, and I talked to him 2 days before he died. And of course, Merle Haggard, each person that's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, well, the one that's coming in, you can request who you would like to induct you in, whichever Hall of Famer you want to induct you in. Merle did mine, so I did Furlong Huskies, and of course, I think Jack Clement, my producer for so many years. So that's the way that works.
What kind of man was Merle Haggard?
He was one fine writer, one fine singer, and I don't know how many other things that he was one fine of. he was it. You know, I mean, you just had to love him. I mean, especially his talent. I mean, to listen to those lyrics that he write, you know, all those songs he wrote, and then sing them too. I wasn't that fortunate. I had to sing other people's songs, but he sang other people's songs too. But he wrote most of his own. You see, that's pretty darn good. Not good, but great.
Yeah. What's the most important thing in life?
Well, try to do the best you can and take care of your family and hope that they all can turn out well and be happy and that sort of thing. You do the best you can to get them on the road to that, but sometimes it gets a little rocky sometimes.
Everybody can visit the website. It's charleypride.com. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a great pleasure to catch up with you again. My last question.
All right.
Who is Charley Pride?
He's a guy that was born to 11 kids and grew up and was blessed with a voice to be able to do what he's done in his life and have appreciated from God what he gave him.
Well spoken. Well, thanks so much.
Okay.
All right. God bless.
Okay, Paul. Take care.